As a chair, I'll start the meeting, right?
Thank you,
Yep.
Charlie. Perfect.
Hi, welcome to the OPEB Trust Committee meeting on August 28th at 5 p.m. As Mary mentioned, we have several members present. At this point, I'd like to read the accessibility statement. This meeting is accessible to people with disabilities. Microphones or telephones will be used by all speakers. Large print materials are available upon advance request. If you would like either of these accommodations, please contact Mary Waldron at 508-583-1833. The notice of non-discrimination rights and protections to beneficiaries with regard to the federal Title VI non-discrimination protections and the state non-discrimination protections is posted in this meeting room and is available on the Old Colony Planning Council website. Please contact Mary Waldron at 508-583-1833 for further information. Thank you. At this point, just to affirm, we'll do a roll call. Sean Noel.
Present.
Pat Charamella.
Present.
Charles Kilmer, present. And from the staff, we have Executive Director Mary Waldron. And
Good evening. Thank you.
Fiscal Officer Brenda Robin.
Here.
So at this point, a review of the August 7th, 2024 minutes. Sean, if you could scroll through.
Mhm.
I don't know if you had a chance to look at these yet, but Sean and
Yep.
I have looked at them.
Yep, they look good.
Okay,
Okay,
I make a motion that we accept the minutes as presented.
thank you, Sean. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Pat. Now we'll do a roll call vote. Pat Charamella,
Yep.
Sean Noel,
Accept.
Charles Kilmer, accept. Motion passes. Thank you. Next, we have a review of options of the OPEB Trust fiduciaries. As you recall from our most two recent meetings, we've had presentations from Rockland Trust, who is our current fiduciary, and most recently we had a presentation from Treasurer Tom O'Brien from Pequot and Katie from the PARS group. And at this point, I believe one of the homework assignments was for Sean volunteered to do a comparison table of the fees between Rockland Trust and Pequot. And we can see up on the screen, so I'll defer to Sean. If Sean, you want to present this?
Sure. Fortunately, as we began looking at this in the time, we had a full year of Rockland Trust's fees as they begin the new year with the fiscal. It runs concurrent with the fiscal year. So when we had the July 30th statement, which gave us an overall balance of $1,162,953.52, it gave us the actual year-to-date fees for Rockland Trust at $3361.42.
Sean, is that based on a calendar year or fiscal year?
Fiscal year. So
Okay,
it's a full year of costs.
yeah. No,
So-
I was just wondering because when I looked through the Rockland Trust handout that they handed us,
Mhm.
and I was looking at some of the stuff that they had in there, and the fees based on what they had was 0.66% of the first 500,000, and then there was 0.48% of the rest. And I come up with,
And I would have thought that their fees are much higher. So, again, I may be wrong, but hang on for 1 second. Let me see if I can pull up the actual statement.
yeah, because I came up with like over 6,000.
Wow.
Well, that would make even more sense. And the reason,
I don't have the actual number. Those are just based on the percentage that they presented at that meeting back
Right,
in
you mean-
June.
And if I could, through you, Mr. Chair, that I think this is why, at least doing this preliminary comparison, right?
Right.
Because it was only 3 weeks ago that we met, and before time got too far away, because I know people were traveling, but this would give the ability to continue to look at what those fees are and do a true comparison to know what the value, right? There's some things that Peacock was doing and there's some things that Rockland Trust were doing.
Yeah. I just figured I'd bring it up because when I was looking at it, I was looking at a fee of close.
Well, that would explain Treasurer
6,500.
O'Brien's, that would explain Treasurer O'Brien's, contention that he thought our fees were probably around 0.6%. Where I got my number from, and again, this is based on, hang on, let me see if I can rotate this.
Because you pulled that right off the statement though, right, Sean?
Yeah, so I mean, if you look, here's
73,
the-
60 something per month.
right, $273.63 for monthly fees. This was for the month of July. And the reason that I assumed that this was an annual amount was because our contributions are 60,000 a year. We actually ended up with an extra one because of dating for last July. Last June's contribution actually got contributed in July.
Now
So-
that I'm looking at it, Sean, it looks like that 3,300, based on my calculation, is on the first 500,000.
Interesting.
Just a thought, because if you look on that handout that they gave us,
Yeah,
Mhm.
okay, on the second page, if you have that in front of you,
Sean,
At
I'm
the
wondering
bottom.
if you stop sharing your screen and maybe to go into the Google Drive and pull out the, I don't know if you're able to do that or,
because I think that number is right, maybe for the first 500,000. Because they stated based on $1,148,839 as of May 24th.
May 31st of 24.
Yep. That's it. That's what's in the handout.
Oh, hang on for a second. This is both. We have a money market account that also gets mixed in with this.
Yeah. But anyway, that might be something you could check on.
Sure,
Mhm.
absolutely. Yeah, 65,000. Totals added. Pat, where were you saying you were saying that on the presentation on page 2?
Yeah, on page 2, the Rockland Trust Investment Management group that they gave us, I think it was in June. I have the handout, that's.
Oh, I see here. Fees are calculated and charged monthly based on the account market value.
Right,
66% on the first 50, 48% on the balance. Based on 5/31/24, the annual fee is 0.53%. So yeah, that's definitely something we're gonna need to look into. After a discussion with Treasurer O'Brien, however, I mean, I can pretty confidently say that our blended cost for Peacock would be 0.21%. So that just kind of strengthens the argument for lower costs with Peacock, but
yeah, what was the percentage that they mentioned on the Peacock?
so
I don't have it, I got the digital version, I don't have them.
hang on for 1 second. I'm gonna shut this Rockland Trust down.
Oh, they had like, on the program here, they had $150.
Right, on their
On
example.
the
Yes,
first 500, that's based on the first 500.
right. Yeah, that was an example they used. Hang on, let me get to it.
Right. Exactly, I didn't figure, I don't know what the second, and then remainder, what percentage is on the remainder.
Right, so,
and Sean, just for logistics here, I think if you stop sharing your screen and then share it again.
oh, okay.
And Charlie, I don't know if you have comments in between here.
Well, I have comments beyond the cost because for me, if one of the takeaways from this meeting is to affirm the costs, right? So,
Yep.
Mhm.
but the costs aren't the sole determinant of what's going to inform our decision and recommendation, right? So
Correct.
I was thinking of at least three things that would go into our metrics. One being
Yep.
the cost,
Mhm.
Yep.
two being level of service, and
Yep.
three being rate of return on the investment. So in terms of service, basically, if I can be frank, Rockland Trust has managed the account since its inception. Okay. They have been responsive to when we have asked them to come in and do a presentation,
Mhm.
but I will
Mhm.
leave it at that. Other than that, they're a ghost. And it's like it's pulling teeth to get them to come in and do something. Whereas I believe with Peacock, there's a higher level of automatic service. Like if we have questions about the trust, its operation, the investment, they seem a little more accessible. And I'm assuming that's true from their presentation and from what they said. I don't know that to be a fact, but it sounds like to me anyways that they would have a higher level of service. And then third, I recall a Peacock comparison chart to Rockland Trust from a couple of years ago where they said if you had gone with Peacock, this would have been your rate of return. I think it was
Mhm.
like 13%
Yeah.
ish. And over that same time frame, they showed the actual OCPC one was about 8%. So based on that, the returns would have been higher. But I would offer that they offer different types of investment options where we're doing the current to balanced. I believe what they were showing was Rockland Trust Balance versus OC versus Peacock Growth.
Right.
So you're kind of mixing apples and oranges. Obviously, if we'd gone in aggressive growth, we would have had a higher return. But that's hindsight. But I was thinking of those three metrics. I don't know what the other committee members think. If they have other ones and
No, I
should
agree
consider.
that I certainly would say I agree, particularly with the service level of service that you mentioned. Again, I knew that Rockland Trust had, and again, my experience is certainly far more limited, but I mean, I knew that Rockland Trust was managing the fund simply because I see the statements every month, but that's the only thing I ever got from them. Was a statement. I don't know whether or not, or how proactive we would need to be to get kind of feedback on a regular basis from Peacock, but short of us asking for it and from Rockland Trust, we really haven't seen much. And honestly, remembering back to their presentation, there was an awful lot of stuff in there that doesn't necessarily help us in the day-to-day operation of this fund.
Mhm.
That's just my opinion. They gave us a lot of charts and a lot of graphs and so on and so forth, but again, short of us all being financial professionals, I'm not sure how much that's going to help us in the day-to-day administration of the fund.
Right. Yeah, I
You know,
agree with you. Three concept there, Charlie. Cost, level of service, and rate of returns. To me, cost is one, of course, and the other one, the rate of returns, are my high priorities, of course. And the level of service, being able to get on the phone and talk to people and get some straight answers, or even having them come by and talk to the board on at least annual or semi-annual, just to see how the progress on the fund on the investment is going and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, thank you, Pat.
I
Thank you, Sean. One of the things that I was thinking about as well was how much time and effort in back and forth did we actually spend on once the council adopted master and law, something, to go with the updated trust provisions?
Mhm.
How
Yep.
much actual time was spent with the lawyer back and forth and the cost, and where I think that would have been accomplished easier had we already been with Peacock.
Yep.
Yeah,
If I'm not mistaken, I mean, it seemed like it was a lot of back and forth with Murphy, Hesse, Toomey, and Lahane, where I
right.
think that conversation could have been had with Katie at PARS and Treasurer O'Brien, and they could have said, well, this is what it is, and this is what you need to do. Here's the language.
Mhm.
Right, and you could have just used a template to
Right.
basically set it up, yep.
Um, and there is actually a fourth item, and I'm not sure if it's on par, no pun intended, with the other three, but it's the partnership with regional government in Plymouth County. I think that that has certainly some weight as well. I think any stronger ties that could bind OCPC in the county, I think is beneficial.
Yep, I agree with you there. I was just wondering, Charlie, remember we had that conversation a little bit on just the idea of some of the other RPAs on what they might be doing. You mentioned that BAD just joined recently and they transferred from, was it from Rockland also?
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. You're right. We never really got a lot of stuff from Rockland except the monthly statements. And I don't even know, to tell you the truth, how many agency like yourself and that are going to Rockland. We might have been the only two, you know, BAD and OCPC. That was the case. Because when we first started this was fairly new. There were only a few places you could get that done back then.
Right.
So we had, you know, if I recall, it was either Bristol County Bank, no, Bristol Bank or Rockland Trust. And since we were doing business with Rockland Trust already, I felt at the time it was a good idea to go with them.
And if I could, through you, Charlie, just some further background on this is that many of our board members have served as on the advisory for Plymouth County. So for us, you know, many of them were starting to ask, you know, what about joining Plymouth County? And to have a little bit of an arm's length, that's why we went to Murphy, Hesse, Toomey, Lahane to get their independent review. And I do agree that we probably could have saved some funding if we had a fiduciary such as Peacock. But in the end, it was an independent to form that the trust that you are all members of. And that guidance that we received, I think, did us great until things just got a little sluggish on our end, on my end, I would say. But I think that's where many of the council members have faith and also wanted just to make sure that we do our due diligence. So now we're in this next reiteration with you as the trust committee members to take these next steps to evaluate and to make recommendations. And I think the one thing you and I, Charlie, had a sidebar conversation was that Katie from Peacock had mentioned that, you know, to have approval of the council, but it is from my view, and I think your view, Charlie, that the council members voted to have this trust committee be the decision makers. And so I would only say that for transparency, that it be a reporting out to the council, but not necessarily having to need a vote to proceed. And again, these meetings are posted publicly. And so if anybody does want to attend, they are able to. But just sort of like a little bit background of how we came about to being today.
Yeah, Mary, just one question in regards to that. based on what the county was saying in regards to this committee, what would happen to this committee if we did go with the Plymouth County? Because if I recall, I remember him saying that it would have to take the vote of the council and stuff like that, right?
She did say that, but I think that what the council did at a recent vote back in, it was reaffirmed last year. Last June, the council reaffirmed its support to form the trust to make the
Right.
Trust
decision
committee,
for
yes,
the council. That's correct.
yeah.
Charlie, do you agree?
I agree. If I could share my screen,
Sure.
do you mind?
Yep, I think you should be able, go ahead. Are you able to, Charlie?
You guys see that? It says
Yes.
trust.
Yep,
So this is the one that the council adopted, MGL 32B 20, right? Chapter 20. So I was just looking at this. I'll scroll down to this one in particular. Invest and reinvest any money they don't put it as the board sees fit, the board being this committee,
mhm,
right?
Yep.
And then this one to delegate any of their powers, duties, including but not limited to the investment and reinvestment of any money that's in the OPEB trust. So when I read this, it seems like, to confirm what Mary was saying, like the council empowered this trust committee to make these decisions.
Right,
that's my understanding of it as well.
right. But I don't think the way they were talking about it, that it would still require the approval of the council itself, the way the county was talking about it the last meeting.
Right. So I
But
think what,
but I think that approval already exists. In other words, it was reaffirmed, what, a few
Last
months
June.
ago? Was it
Last June.
Yeah,
Oh, a year ago, Jim.
yeah. So that the committee had the responsibility for it.
Hmm.
Again, we even asked about the provision of being able to put in, you know, some sort of requirement to keep the board informed, and we're told we couldn't do that as part of the trust, but I think it's just kind of a gentleman's or gentle lady's agreement that that's what we will do.
So I think the question would be to reach out to Katie or to Tom O'Brien, just to get some clarification. If I remember, the discussion was that, you know, a member of the trust committee to have either a membership on their committee. So maybe we can get some clarification about that.
Okay.
Yeah, because it wasn't clear to me what exactly he was talking about, whether it would be through this committee or the whole council as a whole.
Yep, we can ask that question.
Okay,
And I would also just represent the fact that, you know, I mean, they kind of went through all of who they have for members, right? So Old Colony Planning Council coming in, representing 17 communities. I mean, I just think that would probably be helpful to do some due diligence on that,
Yep.
and get some further clarification.
sounds good.
Mary, do you know if any of the other, or all, or none of the other regional planning agencies actually have OPEB funds established?
They do. They're required, I believe.
They
Yeah,
are,
I
okay. All
I
right,
think I recall Pioneer Valley was starting theirs. I'm not sure about Serpent. I never really found out if Serpent ever did or did not, but I'm assuming everybody had to do it.
Yeah.
I think, and I'm just using the town of Rainham, for example, because I know, I mean, they've established an OPEB fund, but it's underfunded. Because the town hasn't taken the action to actually support it the way, for instance, that we are. But, so I wasn't sure whether there were groups, you know, certainly regional planning agencies that may or may not have put the full weight of their organization behind it to say.
Well, we can certainly do a quick, I can do a quick email to the executive directors and just ask, but a lot of them also have it on either their financials and or their reporting, but we can certainly do that. The fact that we're funded is because of Pat Chiamello and people like Charlie Kilmer, who, when this first came out, drew us in the right direction. So,
So
there you are,
it sounds-
Pat.
Yep, sorry, I didn't know what.
Yeah. So it sounds like we have some homework. If I could just quickly summarize, Mary's going to check with the other executive directors to see the status of their OPEB and what their fiduciary is. Number two, Sean's going to confirm the costs.
Yep.
Three, we need to reach out to Katie. Perhaps what we could do is send her a copy of our existing trust document.
And I can do that, Charlie, or if you would like to do that, either way.
Okay, thank you, Mary. And then obviously we'll have another meeting and can compare notes and thoughts. I think having the metrics too, those at least 4 items of consideration, I would like to have one more member present before we take any kind of vote or recommendation. So
Agreed.
Yeah.
I would do,
Yeah.
I would say that as well, Charlie, is for those that do know, so Stephen's going through his surgery. He'll be laid up for a little bit of time. Because otherwise he would have been on today, but he'll get a copy of this recording and perhaps Charlie, or Sean, or we can't violate open meeting law, but maybe we can just do a reach out to Stephen after he views the recording and follow up with any other comments he might have.
Sure.
And then lastly is that Christine Joy was the other candidate. So I just received confirmation that Yolanda Spinola name is going to go before by the mayor to the city council. So he will go from an at-large council member, OCPC council member, to a Brockton delegate that will open up the at-large. And if Christine Joy, who indicated she'd still be interested, would be appointed as the at-large, who can then come back and fill the seat that is vacant at this point.
Okay.
But that's all contingent upon lots of different things. And it's been about 2 months since I've last chatted with Christine. So I would just say that as a opportunity and not a definite.
Charlie, as
I
we
would
were
think as a
talking
point of order and continuity, it would be good to have the OCPC treasurer be present when we're actually making a vote.
Yep,
I had that link back to the full board.
yep,
That is.
Mhm.
So, and just further explanation on that, Frank Staffier is the interim. And he is hoping that when Christine gets appointed as at large, that she would take over as treasurer. But let's see where the timing is at to you, Mr. Chair, and the other members, right?
Sure.
It's all a little bit of a timing issue.
sounds good. Charlie, you mentioned the 3 points. Did you add a 4th one to that? Was it the membership?
We were
Uh,
thinking it was the partnership with Plymouth County,
Yep.
strengthening those ties to being involved with another regional agency.
Right,
Just like Bat joined, I think there's some strength in regionalism, if you will.
Mhm.
yep,
I think this would be
Yep.
another way to strengthen our ties with Plymouth County government overall.
And on that note, Charlie, Becky Coletta and I will be going before the Plymouth County Commissioners meeting on October 24th, just to talk about ways that we can strengthen it. And to this last number, 4th point, that should be right about the right time.
Mhm.
and maybe we could have a 5th point on this where one of the members of this committee, like, once we figure out exactly where this committee stands and whether are required to have the full board, then maybe one of these committees, whether it's the treasurer, if Christine gets reappointed to that, or somebody that would be tied in with the county somehow, and she would be the one that would be reporting back to the full committee,
Mhm.
maybe. Just to have this board still keep going, this subcommittee keep going. Because like I said, the way Tom was talking about it, that his preference was to deal with the council directly.
Well, unfortunately, I think by the terms of the trust, we've established that this committee has to exist.
Right,
The alternative, there was one of two choices, Pat, when we set this up. It was either the 5-person committee or the single entity of the treasurer of the council. It could be either one or the other, and it couldn't be any, correct me if I'm wrong, folks, but it couldn't be any variation of the two.
That's correct.
And so
Okay.
at the time, the council treasurer was Elder Marrero.
No, Fred
I'm sorry,
Gilmetti.
Fred Gilmetti, I apologize. Was
Yep.
Fred Gilmetti.
Yep.
He didn't really, there didn't seem to be a whole lot of enthusiasm for taking that over. So this is one of the reasons
Right.
why, we moved towards the establishment of the committee. So I think we're the conduit to the council.
Right.
And I don't know if we can, although Charlie, that paragraph you highlighted, I don't know if we can delegate that responsibility to one person to communicate with the council. I'm not sure. When you said you could delegate its ministerial functions.
Right.
So, I mean, that might be something we can take a look at, and that might be something to get an opinion on from Katie.
Mhm. I
So-
think those next steps that were outlined, and I would leave it lastly at this. So say if this, the trust committee gets absorbed by the county, it could be the chair of the council who could create a subcommittee to kind of keep an eye on it. I mean, it could be done through the finance, or it could be this separate, you can kind of function as an independent group to continue in the spirit of getting a retiree, getting an employee designee, right? Getting
Mhm.
someone with financial background, all those appointees, those 5 appointees, each of the 5 appointees bring an experience that is extremely valuable to kind of keeping another set of eyes. So
Mhm.
I think those are all things to be explored before the next time we meet.
That's good.
Definitely.
And what I will do, Charlie, to you as the chair, when I do ask the other regional planning agencies, I will also ask the makeup of their trust committee as well.
Thank you.
Sounds good.
So do we have, Charlie, you need me to share the agenda again?
Yeah, I think the only other thing was adjournment, but
Yeah, I think we
Wanted to-
rolled through open discussion.
right. So with open discussion, what we did last time was also set the date of the next meeting.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Harry, did you know Steve's actual timeline or?
Yeah, give me 1 second. I was just gonna look that up on his email he sent. Oh, actually, stand by.
Pat, you're going on vacation in September, right?
He is actually going for surgery.
Yeah, actually, it's second week, if I recall.
Right. So his surgery is September 12th. And if I remembered right, it was gonna be a little bit of some time. Let me stand by, if we can hold tight, because I can find that answer. And while I'm getting this, Pat, you're looking very tanned.
Thanks. Been at the pool most of the day.
Hmm.
been a good place to be up until about a week ago.
Yeah.
While I'm doing that, I just text Stephen, but maybe the three of you for right now, knowing his surgery is September 12th. So that was a reason for today's meeting.
And he said he needed a week to recoup, and then he was gonna be real busy with.
Yeah.
The last week in
He's-
September, we'll be dealing with finance committee and council meetings. Do we want to try and meet before the finance committee? Or do we want to wait until after the meetings?
To be honest with you, can I weigh in on this? I think by the time we find out information, and get some returns and vet it out, potentially September. I think that might be a little bit too soon from Stephen, but we'll wait to hear from him. I don't think, I think if we aim for October, that
We can
would give
keep-
us a little bit more
Yep.
time.
Yeah, I agree.
Usually the first Wednesday I have a meeting.
As do I.
Huh?
So I do as well on the first Wednesday.
Yeah, so we can stay away from that, that'd be good.
Charlie, what are your
Second,
thoughts about October?
Yeah, I would avoid the first Wednesday in October. That's my birthday, so.
oh,
Oh,
there you go.
And
um,
so there's three people on this call whose birthdays are in October: Brenda, Charlie's, and mine.
oh my.
Wow.
When's
How
yours, Sean?
about-
Mine?
Yeah.
February.
Yeah, okay.
I'm in no danger.
But what about October 9th? That's the following Wednesday.
October 9th, that's fine with me.
Hang on for one quick second.
And I just sent that date out to Stephen.
Yep, October 9th works for me as well.
So, gentlemen, only if I could, let's get, so we'll put October 9th as one. Let's get a second date.
How about the following Wednesday, the 16th?
Yeah, let me check. Yeah, that's good for me too.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
Sean?
that one should be good for me as well.
Okay, great.
Okay, so I've given both of those dates to Stephen, and we'll hear from him probably not before the end of this meeting. So we will just volley back in between.
Okay.
And Pat, just to confirm, email works for you or
Yep.
cell phone, correct?
Yeah, the only thing I didn't receive this time was, I'm assuming you're using the same login stuff. So it's the same every meeting, is that? Cause I hadn't received anything on the login for the Zoom. But-
So what I had explained to Megan, because she will send it as a meeting invite, but I think that doesn't always land on people's calendar. So we will make sure this gets sent out in an email.
Yeah.
But this login should be the same. We'll double check.
Oh,
with
okay,
Megan.
I didn't know that. I thought maybe every time it changes or something, but that's
We'll-
good, that's fine, as long as I
We'll
know.
reconfirm, and, for simplicity's sake, so this has been recorded. I'll take some notes, Charlie, I'll volley them to you and to Sean, and then, we can at least get those minutes. We'll get those minutes, and Brenda can weigh in on it too.
Sounds good.
Yeah, so while we have Brenda on the call, I wanted to certainly ask Brenda if she had any thoughts as well to weigh in on any of this, part of our open discussion.
I'm sorry, Charlie, could you repeat that, please?
The floor is yours, Brenda. Do you have anything to add?
I really don't. I'm mostly just sort of listening and trying to absorb all the information.
And obviously, Brenda, you have a closer relationship with Rockland Trust. you know, in just in terms of their service, but, you know, I don't know if you were able to follow that conversation.
Yeah, pretty much, I think.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, and I think with any type of relationship, it's always nervous when we're talking about potential change.
Mm,
Yeah.
I know
for
there
sure.
was some heartburn and trepidation when we were changing auditors, but hey, look how great it is now, right? So,
Yeah, and I respect what the committee wants to do, quite frankly. You know, I'll respect whatever the majority wants to do, and we'll, you know, if we change, we'll deal with it. It'll be okay.
Thanks,
The way I'm
Brenda.
kind of looking at it is,
Brenda.
if you think about it, when you're young and you're trying to learn something, you know, you may have a good coach, but maybe they can only take you so far. And then you need to kind of upgrade. You need to maybe make a decision as to, okay, I've gone as far as I can with this. Maybe it's time to try, you know, another level and see what we can do.
Yep. It certainly does come up again and again.
Sure. I mean, it's not like this is going to be over in a year. So
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and I just echo Mary's thanks to Pat for the idea and,
yeah,
you know, getting this going, you know,
Mhm.
at least a decade ago. I mean, to have over $1 million, I mean, that's a great return so far, and you know, appreciate the idea, Pat, and making it happen.
Mm,
Really, it's the foundation
Yes.
of what we are.
Well, we all
And if-
try to do what we can to make the council better, you know, in the
Right.
long run. But, yeah. Yeah, that'd be great if you can check on, with the other RPA, see where they are with that, you know.
Will do.
mhm.
Okay, so does anybody have any other items for open discussion?
Have a good night, everybody.
You
Otherwise,
too.
Thank you.
entertain a
Yeah,
motion to
bye-bye.
adjourn.
Motion so moved.
Second,
Good night, everyone. Good to see you,
good
Pat.
night. Yeah, good to see you guys.
Good
All right,
night.
guys. See you,
Bye-bye.
Pat.
Thank you.
Bye.